Hello and welcome to Imperiums Greek Wars. You guys know that I'm a big fan of any game set in the ancient times, although when it's a 4X, I am definitely a little more critical. There's been a lot of these games coming out recently, and we have to see if Imperiums Greek Wars lives up to the test. So as you can see here, we've got a number of different options, including a multiplayer setting and an additional content, which will hopefully lead to some mods, maybe even some downloadable content here. So let's jump into single player and start a new game. Now, you can customize your world, but I would prefer to stick to the title of the game and actually start in ancient Greece. So we're going to push forward, and we're going to have all sorts of different issues in ancient Greece, not just against other Greeks, but of course against the Persians and other factions that might want to live at our expense. Now, right now, all of these need to be unlocked. You actually have to play the game and do well with a certain faction before you can unlock the others, which I think is really, really cool. Now, I actually want to play as Sparta here, so I definitely want to select the faction. We've got, of course, the check mark, and we are going to push forward. But as you can see, the difficulty of Sparta is actually slightly high. There's also well, pretty much a selection screen here of what you want when you begin a game. So you can have army morale, you can have corruption, or you can take these things off if you simply don't want to have to worry about them. But on the difficulty I play at, which is medium, everything is checked off, which just keeps things a lot more realistic. Also, the heroic quest is such an interesting part of the game, really allowing you to go out of the ancient world and into the world of mysticism to get some important skills. So that being said, let's get started here, guys. We are beginning as Sparta, and I will say I would not recommend you start as Sparta. This is without a doubt one of the more difficult starts in Imperium's Greek Wars, but they're my favorite faction. What can I say? All right, venerable people of Sparta.
That has shaped our history, and neither will easily yield their place.
I like that. I think the voice acting's quite decent. Quite decent, honestly. So this is, of course, the introduction for Sparta, and each one of the factions is going to come with its own original introduction, of course. We've got a look here at our lands, and I must say, despite not being the largest lands in the world, this isn't too bad. It's not horrific, of course. Now, over here, we've got one of our settler units, one of our worker units, I should say. I'm going to go up here to our actual hoplite unit, and we're not currently going to go to war with Arcadia, but it's something to do in the future. Once we actually get to the screen here, the strategic overview, we can take a look and see all of these different towns under control of other civilizations. And it really is quite incredible. You can see even Persia here, just well represented with so many different towns. Now, if we wanted, we could go ahead and take our settler and actually build another town. We've got quite a lot going on, but let's go ahead, let's get that new town up. So you guys can see that process, and we're going to call it Kaifanta, right there on the actual water. So I think this will be a perfect port. Now, another thing I've done is I've started moving my hoplites over here to Pylos. I think Pylos is next on the list for Spartan domination, so we're going to start moving that way, actually. And this guy is not ready to fight. We're going to have to just keep him there for now because we're going to need some additional units. So I'm actually going to select our city here and purchase some hoplites. Or some hoplites would probably be the more appropriate way to say that. Let's also go ahead and get this unit here. And as you can see, we don't have to... We can move our units on the same tile. It doesn't mean they've merged. It just means they're on the same tile. Very 4X-ish there. And, of course, we're getting prepared to attack Pylos. Now, if we go up here, we actually have our objectives. One of our objectives is to gain revenge and actually conquer the area we're looking at now, owned by the Messenians. There's a few more objectives here, and you can just kind of go through them. I like this, numerous quest deal because you can tackle these however you want. It's really entirely up to you. There's also a large amount of state decisions ranging from economic to political to even emergency decisions. But of course, we don't have any of these unlocked since we've just started playing, of course, but over time, there will be different things that unlock this. As you can see, a lot of these are conditions that have to be reached before we can play any of these decisions. Once we go into the build menu, of course, we've got just the standard build menu. Right now, blacksmith, stable, and temple. There are many other things to build, but these are our options at the moment. As you know, cities like Sparta are already quite well built. And just like the historical Sparta, by the way, it looks like there's no wall around that. So I really do like that. That's pretty cool. We're going to go ahead and end the turn right now, guys. Turn it over to the other players. I really think the art is quite nicely done here. Again, it's simple, it's nothing too incredible, but this is all I need when I'm looking at an enemy character, an enemy faction leader. Just want a good representation of them, and this is no exception. Alright, here we go. Now this is mostly, yeah, this is a far away from us. We don't have to worry about this too much. But of course, borders there to the north. That being said, our focus is really to the west. Now, we get to select a starting technology, of course, and just like any 4X, depending on what road you go down, it's going to lead you to a few different paths. I think coinage is going to be important, so I'm actually going to keep coinage going, although I'm guessing that the Spartans would probably take something to do with military, not something to do with coinage, but be that as it may. Let's go ahead and send this guy over, and pretty soon here, we will be declaring war on Pylos. But I want to make sure we're absolutely ready before we allow that to happen. Let's go ahead and, if we can, we'll purchase yet another unit. Now, it does take time for these units to be built. In fact, I think that one is currently being built. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and... start charging in now, but that's right, we've got the cavalry. Let's take this cavalry unit. We're gonna rush right on through. It doesn't look like we can go that far, but let's at least go up here. And again, the game is not entirely built on just warfare. If you look down here, there's all sorts of different trade overviews. There's also a diplomatic window and even a political map, which gives us an idea of the different connections, alliances, wars going on in our kingdom. You can see Persia well represented, and even some trade routes established with various Greek states. The fact is, even though you dislike somebody, if they've got something to trade, then you'll certainly find time to talk with them. So I think we're going to end it there. I don't want to make any pushes into enemy territory yet, but we will very soon, of course. Another cool thing, I should have mentioned this before, when I was talking about the mystical part of the game, look at this. So this is a gate to the underworld, and occasionally Hades warriors will actually leap from this gate. Yes, it does happen, so keep in mind that that could happen to you. And here we go. One really cool thing about this game are the additional quests. We've got information about a treasure chest. Our spies have found a scroll showing the location of the cache. I mean, this is just such a cool aspect of the game, and as you can see, we are unlocking some of these objectives by getting that military power back, getting that population up, and the economy up as well. Now, the treasure chest looks like it's all the way up here, so quite a ways away from our current lands. It's obvious that if we want to get to that treasure chest, we're going to have to consider declaring war against the enemy. There's just no doubt about it. So we might want to take a look at Pylos and declare war right now. Open up the diplomacy window with them and get ready to declare war. So let's take a look. It looks like they're already quite hostile to us. Maybe we won't need to do that. Let's... Political map of Messenia. These are all of the different factions right now, but what we really want to let them know is that we are going to be declaring war on them. Well, that's it, guys. It's time for war. We will be looking for that treasure chest over time, for sure. But we need to start moving in right now. And actually, we can try to influence some of the enemy, which is fascinating, instead of going directly into conflict. But that didn't work, so we're going straight into war. I'm going to move my cavalry in here. We do have some hoplites, which will be useful soon, but I won't be able to move them in just yet. Continue to influence these lands, but I don't think it's going to work. We're going to have to go to war with these guys. That's pretty clear. In the meantime, I'm going to bring some more hoplite armies through. We've got Cleomenes' army, who's one of our leaders. And of course, we've got this fancy little cavalry force. But we're going to have to wait till next turn to properly use these guys and actually go to war with them. Another thing that's very important in this game is to take a look at the diplomacy map of each nation that you're going to attack and make sure they don't have any important friends. One great thing about this game is you can form confederations, you can even form federations with other countries to protect each other or simply to trade with one another. So a lot of these guys could be a lot more hostile than we imagine. You can see they're getting there on the border. They think, oh, how adorable. They think they can take on our hoplites. The problem for us is to get into Messenia, we need to go ahead and display the war menu and properly declare war. Let's let them know what's going on. We will declare war. And as you can see, and this is just to show you guys what happens, we're obviously not doing a full campaign here, just an overview. This will, of course, get us to declare a war on Boeotia and Arcadia as well. And this is one of the difficult aspects of declaring war in the Greek world. There's a lot of allies here that work together, often against us, and that doesn't typically work out in our favor. Nonetheless, going in here to the combat, I love the actual wounds here dealt to the unit. Gives you a really good idea of how the battle went. And as you can see here, we had a battle with Messenia and we lost. I also love the realistic casualty counts. As you can see here, 661 casualties on our side, 268 on the enemy side, and even some actual information about the units, where they were recruited, how long they've been around, and how many victories they've won. So just a great addition there, and really brings up the level of information in the game, of knowledge in the game about your enemy. I think it's great. So there we go. I think we're going to lose that battle too, but at least we're trying. This time it was a draw, and the casualties are starting to get a little bit smaller. Now, I would never disable battle info for the attacks. I think that's such a cool addition, but let's keep on going with glorious Sparta. We should be able to beat them soon, and that is going to be a victory. As you can see, triumph with Cleandridas' army. And once again, I also like that each of these armies, since we are playing a 4X, gets their own general, their own sort of sense of culture, and completely crushed the enemy there. So, let's try and take Messenia. This is actually a city with one of our cavalry. But as you can see, much like attacking with our infantry, attacking a city requires men and morale. And over here, 358 people killed. My goodness, we are absolute barbarians. Well, Spartans, actually. Let's take a look. Yeah, we've used just about everybody's army. I am going to build another army. That's right. You should never stop building armies. No, I'm kidding. Actually, you should stop building armies, or else you're going to run out of money. But in this case, I kind of think that this might be the best thing for us to do. Insufficient resources. Oh boy. All right, that's fine. Gonna end the turn, wait till next turn. Thankfully, our units are still in pretty good health. Our armies are still in pretty good health. So we're gonna keep the fight going. And I really hope to take one of these cities to show you guys essentially how the military aspect of the game works. And I do believe the military aspect of the game is maybe even more important than other 4Xs. It really is important here. You've got to be careful who you're going to attack. You've got to be prepared for very large and long wars. This is not your mother's 4X game. You've already got the enemy's allies essentially attacking us. That can be quite difficult. Let's focus on the standing army here for our next focus, and I'm going to have this not ask me again. Boeotia has declared war on us, big surprise. Arcadia has declared war on us, big surprise. We've got a lot of enemies at the moment. So let's see if we could attack Messenia. Come on, hoplites! We do have him on fire, and it's a victory, as you can see here. Although we still haven't completely taken this city. There's still some work to be done. So I'm going to go for another attack with our let's just say less armored unit, Cleokios army. This would probably not be made up of actual veteran Spartan warriors, but maybe even slaves given weapons, or maybe even young Spartan men. Push up once again. Now this army's pretty badly beaten, but you can see the 2 victories on top, which I just love. It lets us know how much this unit has been through. We could even go ahead and just sleep. We could attack. I'm thinking that maybe sleeping is the best thing to do. Try and regain some of our points and continue attacking. So we're going to keep on pushing with the rest of our hoplites, and maybe even move over here near Pylos, near the actual capital. That should hopefully scare them quite a lot. This cavalry's not doing so great, so I am also going to sleep with him, try and regain some of his health points, and continue on to the next turn. As you can see here, we can just press enter to end the turn, so it's sort of a quick key, and just gets you past the turn a little faster. I know a lot of times in 4X you want to take a long time to think about things. Sometimes you just want to end the turn as quickly as possible and get to a position where you can actually do some attacks. So that's what we're doing now. You did see some boats, but we're not going to be getting into naval combat in this video. Nonetheless, the naval combat in this game is quite well advanced, number one, and realistic for the time once again. Having a strong navy does help tremendously, although with Sparta, I'm not too worried about a strong navy here. I'm amazed we weren't destroyed outright, but nonetheless, at one point we want to try to build some additional forces. The governors in Silesia and Lacedaemon asked for an improvement of city infrastructure. They requested defense improvement to be built there in 4 seasons. Now, if we don't do what these people ask, there is a high probability that they will actually revolt. Now, there's all sorts of different things we can do here now that we have state decision. Slave castigation. Important to keep the slaves submissive to avoid unrest, so sometimes harsh punishment is needed to demonstrate power and keep the thralls in their place. Now, this will kill 10% of the slave population and also have a negative effect on happiness, but the good news here is that these slaves will not be rising up anytime soon. They know just how brutal we can be. So let's keep on. We're going to keep on trying to take Messenia. I will not stop, especially with these armies that have been through so much already. I'm sure they can break through, and there we go. Cleandridas' army gets the glory of the victory, slaughtering 519 of the people. The rest, 3,836, are now under the rule of Sparta. And you can see all the things we acquired here by capturing Messenia in terms of our resources. That's a huge boost, a huge pillaging boost, essentially, and I think it's just great. Now, we'll keep on attacking other buildings that they have. This is not a town, but an actual building. That being said, that temple will fall eventually. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this look into the game. I'm really enjoying this so far. I'd love to do an actual Let's Play series. Maybe not a Sparta, because everybody plays a Sparta. But if you guys would like to see more of this, make sure to let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please do like, comment, and subscribe. It helps to keep the channel going and move one day at a time. Catch you on the next one, folks.